We're live, 7:17. It's date night, and I'm here with you guys. So tonight we're going to talk about, and this actually will be the poll, and we're going to get it up right away before. Oh, I already have one like. So we'll get our poll up. So the poll question is: I open a store to sell merch and Dino proven. Dino proven. And power combos. So basically, the question is: should I open a store? And I've been asked. You have no idea how many times, hundreds of times, literally. That word drives me nuts when people use that. But I have been asked a lot, hundreds of times. What people want really is, hey, where can I get the turbo that you use for this combination? Where can I get the camshaft that you use for this combination? Where can I get these springs? Where can I get these injectors? Where can I get all this stuff? What they want is to be able to duplicate the thing that they just saw. So the question is, should I have a store so that I can offer those things? So if somebody wants a 500 horsepower combination, here's what it is. This is all that you need to make that, to duplicate that. You can take your motor and then this stuff and make 500 or 600 or 700 or 800, whatever your number is. But if because I have people ask me that all the time, can you make a list of all these things? And if I had these things packaged all together and then people could buy them, I could sell them, inexpensively, because most of this stuff is going to be inexpensive. A GT45 turbo, very inexpensive deal. And that way I don't have to send them out to go out and search for all of these things. They could just get it. Okay, well, what injectors did you use? What intercooler did you use? What intake did you use? What camshaft did you use? What injectors? What, yada, yada, yada. And so they could get basically all of the things in all of these things that we know work, because I've dyno tested them and shown, hey, look, if you put this and this and this together, it does this. And if you want that, here it is, all packaged up and ready to go. So that's the question for tonight. Should I do that? And for the people that aren't here on the live feed, that you're just coming in and you're watching this after this was already run live, let me know in the comments. Again, the question is, would you like to see me have a store so that I could sell stuff and offer things like, the turbo combined with the injector, combined with the fuel pump, combined with the intercooler, combined with the camshaft, combined with the springs, all together so that you can get all the things that you want to make that kind of power if you have your 5.3 or your Dodge or whatever it is that you have that you want to make the power output with. Would you like to see all that stuff packaged together, and would you like me to do that? So that's the question. So let me know in the comments if you're not here live, and for you live guys, let me know what you guys think about the live show. I actually like the idea, and I've been asked many times to do this. I resisted it just because I don't really have the time to run a store, but I think there are ways to take care of that. I would like to make life, I myself like it when life is easy. And by that, I mean, you work hard to facilitate that, to make, why keep doing something over and over and over again? If you just do it once and then it's there and then it's always ready to go, and then you just use it. It's very simple. So that's the way that I would look at this stuff. If a guy wants to make 700 horsepower, because I keep telling him, if you want 700 horsepower, get the 700 horsepower turbo and the camshaft, and then it will do that. Okay, well, what do I do? Where do I get that? Lots of people don't know. They want help with that. And then here, you use this cam and this turbo and these injectors and this intercooler. Some of the stuff is not going to, like with intercooling, that's going to be more difficult because that's almost always a packaging thing. But if you use this turbo and these injectors and this fuel pump and this camshaft and these springs, all of that stuff will work. So if a guy can go and have a one-stop shop kind of thing for that, I think that would work out fairly well. And because I test lots of people's stuff, I wouldn't ever offer anything that I personally haven't tested and don't know exactly what it will do. I'm not going to go online and tell people that, hey, oh yeah, I can go like this and tell you what I think camshafts do. I don't do that. I can tell you, here's what it did when I tested it, usually not once, usually many times. Here's what it did, and here's what it will do on your motor if you put it in your motor. And if you would like that, and then I can offer that, and make some money, to make a little bit of money to pay for some more dyno time and pay for some more dyno projects and stuff. And that would kind of be cool. That would be all be a possibility. Don't become a retailer. Let's see here. So let me know what you guys think about that on this fine Friday night. 6-8, good thing you found the channel. Alan's in the house. Wrong cam shirts, that'd be good. And merch would be good too. Hoodies. Wrong cam hoodies. Every cam's a turbo cam, all of that stuff. Hey, first time here. Thanks for all your help with the YouTube. Lonnie, happy to help. Let us know if you have any questions. That's why we're here on the live feed. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, or other guys, lots of other sharp guys here that have done lots of stuff. Turbo Centers in the house. Tech question. Sorry, is there a normal? There's nothing to be sorry about, man. That's why you're here. You're here to ask questions. Is there a noticeable difference between 799 heads and normal heads on a 6-liter? The normal head on a 6-liter usually is a 317 head. The 799 head flows about the same, but it has a smaller chamber and it has a better chamber. So you will pick up power putting either 799 heads or the smaller chamber 706, 862 heads on your 6-liter. You'll definitely pick up power. You'll pick up even more power if you put Recport heads on your 6-liter. BTR 5.3 max effort cam test. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Are you wanting a maximum effort NA camshaft and maximum effort turbo camshaft? Because that's really a maximum effort turbo camshaft thing would be nonsense, because that's the amount of power that makes is only going to be a function of the turbo. If you're looking at a maximum effort NA combination, then you're looking at whatever the available piston to valve clearance allows you to run, basically the biggest cam that you could fit with available piston to valve clearance. Come on, David, don't sugarcoat it. Tell us how you feel. Brilliant idea. Sign me up. Do it, man. It'll be great. That's the kind of enthusiasm we like. So everybody take a hint. David knows what he's doing. Your own sort could be an overnight success. It could be a miserable flop too. But that, again, I'm not doing YouTube so that I can make $1 million, because I'm a long way from that. And the star would be the same thing. It would really be more to help people so that when they come to me and say, hey, what is this and this and this, I can just say, hey, look, it's right there. And if you want it, you can get it and get it all packaged and sent to you. You also need to sell merch like shirts. Yeah, that's all. The shirts and hats and all of that stuff are all part of it. Sounds like it would be difficult because of the overhead requirements. No, that's actually not that bad. Saw one of your videos you offer to sell an engine. Do you still sell engines? No, I don't. I don't build engines for sale. I just had one that I think it was selling at the time. Are you thinking internals included as well? That's possible. I don't do a lot of that. Normally I send people to summits like Pro LS stuff, which are really good. I don't know that I would want to get into that. I think Brian Tooley now is also doing probably internals. So I could do things with all of these other people too. Also, with your YouTube store, you could sell the parts you're not going to use anymore. Yeah, I occasionally do that. Sometimes on some of the live feeds, if I have stuff that's been laying around for a while. Don't become a retailer. Just point to sellers and collect a referral affiliate sale. Well, of course, just be careful that you don't take take over the world. I don't think that that's going to be an issue. Just give warnings. Check your piston and valve clearance and ring gap, for example. We do that. I know who said no. Get 94% saying yes. Richard, yes to the store. Todd, what is your question about the dyno stuff? Richard, I'm 23 and really want to open my own shop and do what you do. What steps can I take to make it possible? I don't have a shop. So if you were following me, you would be going in the wrong direction. Casey, Richard, I sent you an email on the 85 GLH. I already have an 85 GLH though, but thanks. Free small but Chevy head giveaways would be nice. That would be nice. The only thing is the ones that I would have to give away would be the ratty 882s that came off of something that we replaced with something good. I'd like to see more 6.2 stuff. Like I have lots of LS3 videos up and some L92 stuff as well. Is a GT45 too small for an LQ4? A GT45 is a 750 horsepower-ish turbo flywheel. So if your needs are less than that, then it will work. Otherwise, it's a little on the small side for a 6-liter. You sell merchandise where a company takes the order and does the fulfillment, and you just earn the markup. Let's see. If I could buy a all-inclusive kit from you over the pieces from other companies, you would be it. Good. Your older power pack engine. Yeah. Yeah. They would just be, hey, look, if you want to we made 474 horsepower with this. And here are the things that you needed to add to your 4.8 or 5.3 or 6.0 or small block Chevy or big block Chevy or whatever it was. Here are the things that you needed. And here are the things that we use all put together as one thing. And if you want to get all that, you can get all that. Can 823 heads fit on a 5.3? No, the valves will definitely hit the side of the bore. We're going to try to do that by notching the bore the way that the factory did with the big block Chevys. You have to sell it as an individual part. Yeah, what we're thinking of is drop-down menus so that you could get the fuel pump, get the injectors, get the turbo, whatever. And then if you want to add to the other stuff, you'll be able to do that, but you won't have to. My custom water to air intercooler is 6 by 24 by 4. 6 by 24 by 4. 2 feet long. How big is the inlet and outlet? Gen 5 LT1 cam testing would be nice. LT4 cam testing. So you want the supercharged motor cam testing? I mean, not that matters. Brian Tooley has done a bunch of that stuff they've done a bunch of Gen 5 testing. It's really impressive what those motors will do. What cathedral heads would you consider for a carbureted 3.3 LS with the 200 shot? The 200 shot doesn't make any difference that it's nitrous. The head's not going to change that. The head that you pick, there's only about 50 of them that you could choose from that will do what you want it to do. I don't know what kind of power when you're choosing the cylinder head, what you want to pick is the cylinder head that is going to help you make the desired or a naturally aspirated power output that you want to make. I don't know what you're trying to make with your 383. I don't know how much cam you have in it. I don't have how much compression. I don't know what intake you have. I don't know about any of that stuff. So The nice thing is that there are lots of even just ported stock heads that will support way over 600 horsepower NA, which is probably more than you're going to make on a 383 unless it's a really super dedicated build. Richard, you should share your knowledge. That's what I do. That's why I do all these videos. So we're down to 91% now saying yes. Okay. Todd, just ask the next question that you want to ask, because that's not the question that you want to ask. You want to ask something else. There's a follow-up to whatever it is that you're trying to say there. Sloppy stage 1, 2, and 3. I've never run. I don't know if I've run a sloppy stage. We've only run a sloppy stage 2. I've never run a 3. I didn't think a 3 would fit piston to valve clearance, but I've never measured it, so I'm not certain. Will Gen 453 pistons rods fit in a Gen 3 crank? Yes. They will. But the balance will be different. Just picked up a turbo 6-liter with LS3 head, studded, Holley intake. Not sure what cam is in it yet, but about to tear it down, look it over, and brushing it up with the LS turbo stuff. Yeah, let us know what intake manifold is on there. If it's a sniper intake manifold, is it EFI? Is it carbureted? What is it? Does the GM 8.1 liter have the same motor mounts as an LS? I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember when we mounted it if it had LS or small block mounts on it. I don't remember. I can take a look and see maybe here. Let's scroll back and see if I can. Big block Chevy would be under strokers. It would be under turbo also because we did run a turbo on it. So it's not there. Let's see under strokers. Although I might not have the photos up here. Don't think I do. I don't know. I'll have to check. First, I wonder why I can't find that. We definitely ran nitrous with it. Gen 6 454. Did not run a blower on it. Now it makes me wonder where that is. Where is all that info? It's not an LS. That's for sure. I don't know. I'm gonna have to take a look at that and see. I thought that I could look for a photo and see if I had a photo there. The Gen 3 and Gen 4 rods are interchangeable. The other end of the piston, the other end of the rod is the thing you need to be concerned with. 2.5 in and out, Sentra. Okay. I have a stock 6-liter. I want a turbo it. For what mild combination would you go with? Depends on what you're trying to do with it. What power level do you want, and what is going to be the usage? Getaway, just stopping by to drop a like. See, that's how you do it, guys. If you're using your dyno time in West Egg to promote your store, will you still get free dyno? I don't have free dyno time. You should look at that GLH. It will give you a good laugh. I did look at the thing, so I don't know what your comment is about West Tech. 6.2 with a Magnuson supercharger. Is that the 2650 that you have on there? Ported 243s or stock 823s on a mild 6-liter with a sloppy stage 2. If the 243s are ported properly, they will make more power than an 823 stock 823 will. If you only drive your front intercooled car, the rain isn't making air to water. Yep. What about piston to valve clearance running a 552 truck Norris with stock dish pistons, or should I run the Gen 4 that comes with the rods? You will not change piston to valve clearance going from a dish piston to a flat top piston, because the valve hits the edge of the outer edge of the dish piston anyway. The valve doesn't go down into the dish. So the piston to valve clearance is exactly the same with those two pistons. So you should run the flat top piston because it will have more compression. If your Gen 4 piston is a flat top, like from a LQ9 or something. Diesel mechanic, you have a Holly high ram. Okay. Those are not crickets. They're actually frogs. Will it be a good idea to run flat roller lifters on a hydraulic cam? Are you talking about running solid roller lifters on a hydraulic roller cam? Is that what you're talking about? All right, Todd. Get better, man. Let me know if you need me to come up and take that truck and take the engine out, whatever you need, man. What do you think of the 403 Oldsmobile? I've never run one that I can remember. I know I've never run one on the engine dyno. Good conversation would be lobe loft and deflection. That is good stuff, and that's one of the things when I was going to interview Brian, we were going to talk about, because he and I get to talk about that stuff all the time. When one of the things every conversation that I have with Brian should be should be a video. Usually it would be really long most of the times, but when we go over the stuff that he does on the Spintron, it's really good stuff. Would you consider partnering with an online part store? I don't know. I'd have to see what that would entail. What intake would you recommend on that setup? Ported 243 sloppy stage 2 6-liter. I would put the Deca 80s are kind of the go-to injector. You put something smaller in there if it's going to be an NA one, but the best intake manifold that you could put on there would be a fast, an LSXR or an RT with a 102 millimeter throttle body for that kind of camshaft and that power range. That sloppy stage 2 cam is, kind of middle of the road in terms of performance cams. It's a 228, so you could fit a bigger camshaft in there that will make more power, but it will lose power down low compared to that cam. I have videos up on what that does if you put a bigger camshaft in it. But the fast intake manifold, or if you can find a Trailblazer SS, is also not a bad choice. The Gen 4s I've found have valve reliefs in them. So are they a Gen 4 from like an LY6 or something from a VVT motor? curious. I'm trying to scroll back and see what. So, so the 403, somebody saying that they like it because it has the best bore to stroke of any V8. That's not what makes power. Suggestions for an inexpensive intercooler for mild street engines, most likely twin turbo VS racing. Are you talking about an air to air? For an air to air, I would look at some of the diesel stuff. On a 6-liter LQ9, would you rather have 706 or 317 heads if you had to choose one or the other? A 706 will make more power. The 317 head flows a little bit more, but the compression is going to be way down compared to the 6-liter. But that might benefit you if you're trying to run on 87 octane, and that would be a better choice. Yeah, Todd's engine needs to come out of his truck, and what I offered to do is take it out of his truck and then take it down to West Tech and make it all work, and then they could go back in and I offered to bring it down and have it tuned by on in the truck, but I didn't realize that the engine's having some issues. 4.6 2 valve, 7-inch lower, 3-inch upper Eaton M112 after cooler, so it's got an air to water cooler or something on it. 9.5 to 1 stock logs versus Terminator long block with 9.5 and 7-inch lower. And Sebastian, are you comparing your motor versus something that somebody else ran on a different day on a different dyno and all of that? What are you comparing there? Are these things that you ran on the same day on the same dyno and stuff? What is your comparison there? Richard, do you ever sell a motor that you built? I haven't. Every once in a while, I have one that I wanted to get rid of because we've had it for a long time or something, but I don't have anything right now. Where does compression end up with 6-liter and 706 heads with dished LQ4 pistons and flat top pistons? Go down 91. Tom, you need to go to Walsh Racing compression calculator and you can put in all the information. It will tell you exactly what the change in compression is. Turbocentric, so you're gonna have to go down to the 1.8 liter. That's just another pound of boost. What are the horsepower limits of the aluminum 5.7 LS engine? The aluminum blocks, the LS1, 2, and 3. We normally don't run much more than 1,000 horsepower with those, but the 5.3 ones you can run a lot more. The 552 cam, the lift of the cam has nothing to do with piston to valve clearance. Piston to valve clearance is solely duration. By the time you reach full lift on the camshaft, the piston's already an inch or two down the bore, so you don't have to worry about that. You have to worry about hanging the valve open for the period of time that you're hanging the valve open for. Alan, yeah, I remember you mentioning that to help Todd. He was talking about getting the motor taken out. We were talking about just taking the truck down. I asked him if it could drive down, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be able to drive. Yep, Casey, you're right. It's all about rod ratio. I put a sticker of your logo on my quarter window, which is sticker bombed. It's the longest mine was the biggest one. It was like right on top, right? Yeah, JW, that's actually a very common misconception. I get asked that question way more than I get asked what is the available piston to valve clearance on a motor. I always get asked how much lift can I run with this cam? How much lift can I run with this combination? Because everybody thinks that lift is the thing. What's the biggest mistake you see people do in building an LS? Not being concerned about the transmission and when wanting 1,000 horsepower, and they have a 400 horsepower transmission. Yeah, Alan, I do want to get that done. Todd just said he wants to be able to drive the thing and go into boost with it while he's still around. I'm so glad I can see these videos, Richard. Not sure how you get money to do all the things. Well, luckily for me, a lot of this stuff has happened over the last 30 years of testing. So a lot of the videos could be put together from stuff that was already done. If I turbo my LQ4, will I have good torque like a diesel? You're not going to have torque at 2,000 RPM like a diesel does, but you're going to have more than enough torque. Matthew, just want to tell you, you can make 1,000 horsepower with a turbo and 5.3 to 6.0 pretty safely. People call me a liar. Yeah, that's. I think we had 70 or 80 poles on it that were at 1,000 horsepower, so it's not uncommon. Is there a valve size that you prefer to 243 head on a 6 liter? Yes, whatever it comes with. Okay, Sebastian, so you're asking if a two valve makes way less power than a 4 valve does. And so you're specifically wanting to know below 4,500 if a two are you talking are both of these motors stock then? Is that what you're talking about? And are you specifically talking about a PI versus a low compression factory Cobra motor? Is that what your question is? Is there a preferred static compression ratio when adding boost? No, not specifically. We've run it with stuff as low as 7 to 1, and as high as you know, excuse me, racers will do 12 or 13 to 1. The key is what kind of octane do you have, and how confident are you in narrowing your tuning window? Matthew, the question is how long did they last? Well, like I said, that one had 70 or 80 pulls on it. Guys run 1,000 horsepower level stuff at the drag strip for seasons. So, if you put together a $300 or $400 short block and it lasts 2 seasons of racing, and normally guys that hurt it because of something else. They didn't hurt it because it didn't have enough strength, or because it wasn't. They usually hurt it because they ran too much timing, not enough fuel. They got a bad injector. They got a clogged filter, whatever. They did something that they themselves did that had nothing to do with a strength issue. What if I add a stroker crankshaft but not bore the cylinder? Yeah, the people do that all the time. You can add a 4-inch crank to a 5.3 and keep the bore still at 3,780. That's still a stroker motor. It's still bigger because you're going from a 3,622 stroke to a 4-inch stroke, which is definitely going to help displacement, and it's definitely going to help power. Can I send you over my car to do L83 work, please? No, thank you. All right, is it, and are you doing it drive by wire and factory direct injection and stuff? That's going to be kind of a pain. Street strip pump gas 427. What head do you recommend? FR 210, 220, 227. Yes, any of those will work. I think. Does the 220 or 227 have One of those I thought requires an offset rocker, so that'd be kind of be more expensive. How much power are you trying to make with that? So I think even a 210 head, I think that's still a 300 CFM head, right? So that's a 600 horsepower head. Are you trying to make that much with a 427 for a street application? The 227 is a 4060. I thought that I remembered one of those being like that. What is the optimum dynamic compression ratio you find works best? How much of a difference from static do you? So now, in addition to the best cam and the best turbo, we have a best dynamic compression ratio. That's not really a thing. Steve, if 600 really is the goal, then it will be easier to do that with the most amount of head flow. So trying to make 600 with a head that flows 300 CFM is going to be more difficult than it is with a head that flows 325 or 350 would be even better. Kyle, honestly, I don't ever even calculate dynamic compression ratio on any of the builds that I've ever done. Sub-Zero, stage 5. You're putting a stage 5 camshaft in that L83? Seems like a lot. That seems like a really big cam. Yeah, it's your life is so much easier if you have like an overabundance of cylinder head flow. Man, we were up in the 90s. So are the poll is down to 87%? So who's saying no to that? And I even spelled merch wrong. I thought it would allow me to edit it, but it's not. It's not doing that. No, dynamic compression is that there are a group of people that think that that's the end all be all. Oh, you can't go over this 8-to-1 number or this 8.5-to-1 dynamic compression number. You know, stage 4 to get to 500 horsepower. Did you look at all of the stuff that Brian Tooley did with the L83? They made 560, I think. And they did need they did a milled head and they also cut the pistons. Yeah, Bob. That's the little trick. I didn't notice the spelling until you mentioned it. I didn't notice it until I looked at it, but that's the little trick that our brain does. That's why we're not able to, and when I say we, most people, certainly me, having written so much stuff, so many books and magazine stories that you can't edit your own stuff very well. You can't copy edit it. My FR210s flowed 312. That'd be good. Ram truck. What is your sloppy stage 2 question? Let's see if I can scroll back and see what you were talking about. Will 1840p cam get me 400 foot-pounds of torque? In what motor do you have that in? Is it a 5.3 or a 6-liter? Definitely yes. I don't understand the stage thing. Well, it's just a relative thing. You know, stage 2 being more than stage 1 and stage 3 being the next step up. Ram truck. Is it what size motor is it? Is it okay? It's a 5.3. Then yes, I think that if I remember right, the sloppy stage 2 did make over 400 foot-pounds of torque. It made over 400 foot-pounds of torque at the flywheel. So if that's your question, then I think the answer is yes. LS Cathedral port. 5.3. Truck Norris. Spark plug test. Final laser plugs. These freaking laser beams. L33 cam test. Sloppy stage 2 made 414 foot-pounds at 5,000 RPM and 438 horsepower on the stock, otherwise stock with headers, 5.3 L33 that we had. At what cubic inch does an LS make any torque below 4,000 RPM? Every displacement it does that. What is the where did the stock one do? Stock cam. Stock cam makes peak torque at 4,600 RPM. My TSP heads are stage 2.5. That's it, right? That's better than 2 and not as good as 3. And the stage thing comes from the early import days. That I think that might be true, although the stage thing is still following with, and Edelbrock has been doing this, the good, better, best thing, the performer, the RPM, and then the Victor Jr. of everything, basically the intake stuff and cams and cylinder heads and all kinds. They did that. They did kind of that 3-stage deal for a long time. Snow barrel, people say limit 4.6 3-valve stock rods to 450 wheel foot-pounds. Those Mustangs are 3,500 pounds. Would you say the recommended 4,500 torque would change? I don't think you need to worry about that. We've run stock 4.6 3-valve stuff with turbos on them at way over that torque level. I would be much more concerned with connecting rods, the snatch load on connecting rods with RPM, than I would be with torque production in that kind of range. So, Steve, you're getting specific. So you want 450 plus foot-pounds before 4,000. That's going to be a 6-liter then. I mean, a 383 would do that, but that would be a stroker version. But in a stock displacement, that's probably going to be a 6-liter. Let's see what a stock one here does. Tony. Yeah, they're way over 400. Even below 3,000, they're over 400. And probably I'm thinking a 5.7 would also do that. Let's take a look. thinking. They're right at 400 at 4,500. Real torque. What problems would I have if I ran my engine with 2 quarts of oil higher than where it's supposed to be? You could have all sorts of windage problems. It's going to make less power. Brendan, in the video before you said that the 706 head on an LQ4 is the best for torque everywhere, or 799s. When we tested the 799s versus 706s on a 6-liter, the 799s made more peak power. The 706s made more power up to 5,000 RPM. That was on a cammed 6-liter. Richard, did you see that Mazda is bringing back the rotary? I didn't see that. That's cool. Burns, you measure yours in inch pounds, so the number is gigantic. Does anybody know for Sub-Zero what transmission can hold more power than a 6L80 to support a boosted L83? Can't you make a 6L80 fairly stout? Do you have a personal favorite LS cam? No. Just the cam should be chosen for the thing that you're trying to get done. Is a 4L80 stronger than a 6L80? So yeah, I don't ever remember anybody talking about half race cams, but 3/4 and full race were definitely common. But there was never that third thing. It's like I don't know if full race was the third thing, and then 3/4 was the stage 2, and then the stage 1 would have been the half race one, or was that just the stock cam? The vehicle weight should help that. I mean, if you're applying load and you have resistance against it, maybe that will help. Or will it? Will the thing rev faster because it's accelerating the vehicle faster and cause more of a problem? Having read that you shouldn't make more than 400 horsepower or whatever with 462 valves, also, we know that that's just utter nonsense. Should I buy a new torque converter with a sloppy stage 2? If you're putting a sloppy stage 2 in a 5.3, you're going to need a torque converter. Travis is saying that the 4L80 is stronger than the 6L80. Turbo 400 with some good work can hold just about anything, but it's not cheap. That's always the problem with making lots of power, is the rest of the stuff. 6L80 is the new 4L60. Ouch. 6L80 is like, man, what? Why you got to do me like that? Doesn't every LS need a 3,000 plus converter? A 6-liters don't, and a 5.3 with a Truck Norris cam doesn't need that. Cheap, skinny tires with lots of air pressure too. Show us on the transmission where they hurt you. Yeah, it's always the 1,000 horsepower quandary is, oh, look how easy this is. We just put this stage one camshaft in here and springs and injectors and a fuel pump and a turbo and an intercooler, because you should have the intercooler. And look, we can make 1,000 horsepower. Now what? Your transmission is like, yeah, I was suspect at 400. So what are we going to do now? You want some frogs? There's plenty of them out there. Casey, yeah. Do you want me to send you pictures of those transmissions over? Or at least links of parts that work together. Well, every turbo works with every camshaft, so you don't even need links for that. What horsepower is a factory injector good for in a factory Trailblazer SS intake manifold? I don't know about that intake manifold. You'd have to tell me the year maybe of the vehicle and to tell it, so we could hone in on what size injector it is. Full manual reverse valve body from TCI. I haven't heard good things about the TCI stuff though. Jay, what's going on? Welcome. Real world issue for me. What's your take on plug and play fuel injection, engine management versus pulling junkyard items versus a mix? So, are you talking about pulling junkyard harnesses and ECUs? Because I don't ever do that. We never take a factory ECU. If part of the harness is there, we always cut it off and throw it away. Sometimes, if part, like when we used to buy complete motors, when they didn't try to nickel and dime you to death like they're doing now, we would get the harness and everything, and then we would cut usually all the plug-ins off of the harness, and then just throw the rest of the harness away. Sometimes we'd keep a whole harness just so we would have a whole harness, just in case we ever needed a whole harness for something. We haven't yet, so I don't know what we were doing, but we would cut the plugs off. But for me, it's a lot easier to do and I don't like a plug and play fuel injection. The standalone management systems like the Holley, and we've also used Fast and stuff, and the MS3 Pro, but those work really well, and they work better than us for factory ones. So because just the amount of programming that we would have to do on a factory ECU would be nightmarish. So it's easy with a Holley for us to make like on the fly changes, and it's all very, very fast so that we can get all of our testing done. So for me, that's really the only way to go. I never take the harness in the yard because I hate the Multec 2 injector. Yeah. And if I was going to try to use factory injectors in anything, I would definitely flow test them. Getting a short block from a buddy, but I need everything else. Sometimes those kinds of deals are actually not good deals. It's like it's like having most of an engine, but the thing that you have to go buy is as expensive as just going and buying another motor. Or is it within $100 of just going and buying another complete motor? Of course, you never solve the problem. And then you always have this other thing that I'm that close to putting that together, except I don't want to spend the money on the thing, just buying the one thing or two things or four things, whatever it is, that I need to put to piecemeal this thing together when I could just go get a whole nother motor. A Trek Norris cam does not require a new torque converter in a 5.3 or in a 6.0, but definitely would in a 4.8. And honestly, even in a 5.3, I think you'd be happier with something a little bit, probably 300 or 400 or 500 RPM more than a factory one. I buy every cam as a turbo cam. I've worked on different iterations of that for a long time. Richard, do you know of a source where I can get inexpensive 60-pound? Are those injectors that you're talking about for our injectors for a Gen 3 LS application? I don't have any sources for injectors. I sell engines as long blocks and then throw in all the extra BS on top for free if they need it or want it, but they never do. Exactly. I almost want to go to pull a junkyard motor, then transfer what I need and sell the long block. You could do that and probably make money on it, because a lot of times people will buy stuff that's already out. James, you like 354 bolts? Good. Do exhaust tips add horsepower? No, they just add bling. I always get a long block from the pull apart. Yeah, that's what we do anymore now. I was watching your video on compound turbos. I've heard you will only make as much power as the big turbo will put out on its own. I don't think that that's accurate, but mine was not scienced out. Mine was just two turbos that I happen to have laying around. In my opinion, on an LS V8 application, compound turbos are not necessity. Anybody here a 463 valve fan? Yes, I am. I've tested them a lot. I seem to recall MagnaFlow used to advertise that they did that their tips made more power. I don't know how the very end of the exhaust would be a restriction where a tip would help that. Steve, are you asking me what's my favorite LS cam? I don't have a favorite LS cam. Instead of a story, you guys could use a Super Richie code at Summit. Yep. 3-valve Mustangs are a lot more powerful than their 4.6 valve counterparts. So we'll take a look at. Now somebody has me curious about the PI motor and the 4.6 valve deal. A 4.6 valve, especially a low compression one, a stock one, was not very stellar down low. Two turbos and a microphone. It's almost time. It flowed through from the front. It was supposed to help extraction. So Borla had those too. They had the intercooler tips. So you had, the theory was that you could have road air from the vehicle speed going through to help extract it. So you're whistling the exhaust pipe. That would be a neat trick. I found out my head should flow 225 CFM, and I'm using a 292 cam. How much horsepower do you think it could possibly make? What motor is this? And what is the intake? And what's the compression? Have any books out with all your research? I've written 10 books, so there's a lot of them. Yeah, the 3 valves are rated at 300 horsepower, 260 for the PI stuff. What engine surprised you the most? The 4.8, the first Big Bang 4.8, I think was the most surprising one. Battery, I have one of 88 ACR SRT4 neons. They had ACR versions of that. Hitting 22 psi lately. What should I look for first? Hopefully you're monitoring knock sensor. You're monitoring air fuel. You should know what both of those are. You should know what the timing is. Did you ever put more ring gap in that thing? And then if you want to start checking something to see, I would do either a compression test or a leak down on it to see if they're still even. What was the consensus on longer videos like the Hemi one I watched today? I liked it. Longer is more information. Yeah, we're doing the normal videos are usually 15 minutes or so. And then these live feeds are always longer. Larry, where do we find your books? And Amazon sells them, and other places. I have some like, here's one just laying around. Here's one. This is one on like late model Hemi performance. But I did one 5-liter Ford stuff, 4.6 modular stuff. I did a couple of Honda ones. I did a Focus one, did a short track power, a few LS books. I'm telling you, I could make a leaf blower scavenge exhaust out the pipe and it won't even get hot. What do you like about writing books? Almost nothing. the advance is what I like about writing books. And what do you like least about everything? I don't, it's an awful thing. I don't think I like it when it comes out. Like I've really only been terribly happy, I think, that I can remember twice from writing those 10 books. I'm always happy when it's done and I turned it in and I finally get it signed off and then it's finished. That's a good feeling. You know, you get paid in advance ahead of time. That's good. Except that then now I have this big thing hanging over me. So I grab one of these deals and then I'll a binder, whatever, and then I'll make a chapter list of all of the things that I have to fill in order to finish that chapter. And for me, it's bubbles, and I can put X's in the bubbles because every chapter really is the same thing, the way that I do it, because they're all dyno tests. So one chapter will be on intake manifolds, one will be on exhaust systems, one will be on turbos, blowers, nitrous, air intakes, whatever. And so they'll all be the same thing. There'll be 10 tests, let's say. And then each test will have, it'll have text, it'll have an intro, it'll have these photos, it'll have these dyno results, it'll have all these things. And these are all bubbles. And then I got to put all the check and seeing that with all the bubbles. And I'm like, I don't ever want to do this. But the 2 times that I've been really happy, one on my very first book, when I wrote about 5-liter performance, all dyno testing on how to make 5-liter performance, 5-liter Ford power. And then I got a call out of the blue from David Vizard, who was a hero. I had read a lot of his stuff and knew who he was. And he was kind of a legend in the industry and has done lots of crazy stuff. And I got a call out of the blue from him and said, "Hey, this is David Vizard." I didn't believe it to begin with. And he said, "No, I just wanted to let you know that I read your book." And he said, and because he has written a number of books for CarTech, also a lot, probably way more than I have. But he said, "I want you to know, I got a copy of your book. I had them send me one. And I read it. And it's like, I wanted you to know that you're the real deal, that you're the right kind of person to be doing this. This is dyno testing and I love it. And I just wanted to reach out and let you know." So I thought that was awesome. That was pretty cool. The other time that I was very happy was less cool than that was when I wrote my first Honda B series and D series performance stuff. And I wrote it at the right time during when Honda stuff was very popular. And that book, the first printing of that book immediately sold out. And they said, "Well, that book's already sold out." I'm like, but it just came out. You just now sent me copies of it. They're like, "I know, they're already sold out." So they did another printing of it. And so that one made more money than the others. Not that any of them make very much money. In fact, now that I'm on YouTube and promoting these books, they sell way better now than they did. And a lot of them are out of print. Some of them are only available now, I think, electronically, maybe. So, but those are the two times. But other than that, people have asked me to, well, why don't you do more books? I'm like, oh no, that ship has sailed. Bam, 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 bam. 42-pound L3 injectors are almost static, and the G10 is going to need 58 pound an hour, so I need 11 injectors. All right. Why don't you just put 80s in it, man? Have you done a video on different ring packages? No, only gapping rings. It's all stock other than wastegate, APG, Predator 91 tune. All I see is wide open throttle. Airfill's 12.3. Timing is dead on. How much? What is the timing? What kind of timing you're running? 12.3 honestly seems like it's a little bit lean to me for 91 octane. Did you say it was like 20 pounds of boost or something? $350 4-bolt main, 10-to-1 compression. Ooh, torque or intake. Do you like that intake manifold? They have AI that can write books on any subject now. They can. And they can do it much better than people can, and they can do it immediately, which is way better. And the cool thing is, they're and you made a comment, Casey. Don't these people watch sci-fi movies? The thing is, they can make movies, so we won't even have to have people in movies anymore. Well, I mean, we're all going to be taken over by AI anyway, so probably long before all the cool stuff happens, all the bad stuff's going to happen. Because did you know that there are only two possible outcomes for AI? There's only two. Explorer versus Cobra versus GT40. Please take a look at the Explorer Cobra GT40 intake manifold test video that I did. That video's up. What's the most favorite turbo in all the land? The one that gives you boost. Did someone teach you how to write books? No, I've always been a good writer, even back in school. And I have a degree in advertising, so I'm wordy. But you guys knew that. That's what editors do. No, I'm the editor of my book, of all of my books. It's a non-sunroof, non-kicker system, stone white 05 ACR. They made more SRTs, but only 88 like mine. The only SRT for more rare is the 23 Orange Blast. BTEC just kicked in. The Torquer is a single plane. That's true. I've done a comparison with, and we did this on a small block Ford. We did the Performer, the RPM, the Torquer, and it might have been a Torquer too, and then the Victor Jr. And the Torquer was not on the Ford was not good. Six figure LQ now. The Truck Norris cam reading online. Some are having an engine stall issue on deceleration. That's a tune problem. Richard, just wonder if you ever met Richard Ehrenberg from Mopar Action Magazine. I don't think I have. I think I did stories for them. So a lot of times the editors, I never meet them, but I've spoken to them on the phone. James, could someone please tell me what you think of a 354 bolt main with a 292 cam, a head flow 225, and it will have a torquer intake and sport 30 over. What do you want us to tell you about it? Do you want us to tell you that it's good? it certainly could make more than 400 horsepower with that much head flow. That's not that intake manifold's not going to help you out. It's a single plane, so it's going to be soft down low. It's going to make power up top. So what specifically is your question about that? And an RPM air gap is the manifold that I would recommend for that combination. Do you follow any other engine builders? Do I? I do. Yeah, Steve Morris, guys like that. Tom Nelson. Those are good guys. Bob, you for one welcome the new AI overlords. My son is going into computer or yeah, computer engineering, I think. And so I told him, and he's on the robotics team and stuff. So I said, look, just put me on the list. That's all I ask. What makes a torque perform poorly? It's design. The ports are not good. The turns are not good. They're trying to make it. I think they're trying to make it also a low profile single plane, which is not ideal. You want a dinosaur T-shirt? Every cam is a turbo cam. Yep. Pontiac V8s had air gap style intakes from the factory. They did. That dual plane on the Pontiac is really good. Richard, have you ever considered selling hand-signed Mein Kampf? My struggle. Like high-rise intakes better. The Victor Jr. definitely did better than the Torquer 2 did. As per the poll, we support anything you do, sir. Thank you. Your information and opinions are proven reliable. Like I said, I wouldn't sell anything that I hadn't tested. Only tested stuff. The doggies are doing good. Richard, have you done any videos where you discuss the Holley fuel management system that you use? I've done testing I've done demonstration videos on what happens when you tune using the Holley. I haven't shown you how to set it up because that's not what I do, but I have shown you what happens when you have not enough timing and then when you have the right amount of timing, like, if we vary it by 2-degree increments, and then also when we change air fuel, when we run it at 10 to 1, 11 to 1, 12 to 1, 13 to 1, they're all of those videos are up. James, you're wanting horsepower numbers. 225 will support 450 roughly. If you have a really good motor, it's probably not going to be that. So low 400s or 400 or something. Sergeant, did Derek from I and you do land speeder? What is Derek from I? Or is that an L? What is your price range you'll think you'll be selling engines for? I'm not going to sell engines. It would just be parts. I think of going to the No Name Nationals. I kind of would like to. Do you remember the pump gas 509? Steve Morris did 355 head, still did like almost 700. Nice. The guys at West Tech, I think it was probably Mike Miller did it. I think that they did, and I think that that's probably why Finnegan did it. I remember them doing a 91 octane 1,000 horsepower big block, an NA one, but it was pretty good. It was bigger than 509 though. Have you ever heard of Butch Dean in Las Vegas? I haven't. LS 417, 243 heads, just under 11-to-1 compression, BTR stage 2 twin turbo cam, Fast 102, twin 7875s. Have you tested the VS Racing piston wastegates? I have not. The only wastegates we normally run, I've run lots of cheap ones, and I've run some tiles way back, and those all worked good for us. The Turbo Smart stuff we run a lot. I do all my testing. I'm in California. I'm happy to hear your son is in the robotics team. I went to Engineers Week in Portland earlier this week and had lunch with the local high school kids interested in robotics. That's very cool. You can sell merch at the Good Guys shows in Pleasanton and give autographs. I don't know that anybody would be wanting autographs. Have you done anything with a Toyota 5.7 motor? I've never run one on the engine dyno. Super Richie intake manifolds? Yeah. Richard, do you have an air gap you want to sell? I don't. Oh, L&R. Yeah, I do lots of stuff with Derek. I like Derek a lot. So we're saying you'd be selling ported heads, ported intake manifolds, long tube headers, etc. No, probably not that stuff. What I would be selling are combinations. When I put a combination together where I use this turbo and this camshaft and these springs and this set of injectors and stuff, so that a guy could duplicate the things that we did in the video. I don't port heads or port intake manifolds or do any of that. Have you looked at cams like the MS3, MS4, TSP that were designed to be max effort stock short block cams? So they were designed to work with the stock available piston to valve clearance. I've run lots of camshafts that are in that range, so we have a pretty good idea what they do. Casey, we have to have 5XL shirts. We have to have 5XL shirts. Indy Cylinder Show is going to be an Indy. I'm trying to think if I had something on there that didn't really do very well. The trophy 4-cylinder didn't work out very well. It wasn't terrible, but it had, and in its defense, it had a bad, it had 125,000 ring gap because it was worn out, and it had most of the lobes on the camshaft were bad too, but it ran. And then that little 408 that I got from the wrecking yard, where it had, I don't know, 4 or 5 good cylinders out of the 8. So that one was interesting too. To be clear, he's talking about selling the recipe, not the parts. No, to be clear, I'm talking about having a store where I sell the parts. The recipe I just give you. Richard, what's the most horsepower you've ever made? I've never tried to make the most horsepower with a 305. I've only ever done a tune port motor. And I think we did a TBI where we tried to do something with it too. And they both basically just got heads, cam, and intake manifold on them. And they were both sub 400 horsepower 305s. They had the 175 Super 23 trick flow heads on them, some sort of 224-ish cam in them, and then like a dual plane. And we might have also we did run one of those with the Stealth Ram intake manifold. And I think that those were all with the otherwise stock bottom end. Those were all less than 400 horsepower, 370 or 380 horsepower, something like that. Much respect and appreciate your videos. Very informative. I will get an autographed valve cover. The books that I have, that I still have a few of my own, Those can be autographed if you guys want those. 305 versus a 307 versus a 302, right? That's the one that everybody wants. And that's kind of why I wanted to do and plus it was totally 80s and kind of 90s also. But the 305, the 5-liter shootout motors, the 5-liter Ford versus the 5-liter Camaro, because the 5-liter tune port deal versus a 5-liter HO, because one has the right bore and stroke and the other one doesn't. Ever done a dyno test based on fuel mileage? No, that's really hard to do on the engine dyno. My wife wonders why you use Kenny Chesney as your avatar. So we're going to close our poll at 88% saying yes, that I should indeed do that. So I'll have to talk to. So Dan, the TBI 305 with an automatic would chirp second. It probably had 273 gears in it too. Have you done anything on a 98 Vortec motor? Yes, that's the small block Chevy with Vortec heads on it. I've run lots of those, not with the factory fuel injection on them though. Always we remove those and buy them as long blocks, and then I just put a carbureted intake manifold on them. In fact, I went through 5 or 6 of those when I was doing the TV show that I did called Wheel of Death, and so we were destroying them. We were figuring out ways to kill the motors. But those motors do well. If you take a stock Vortec truck motor and put headers on it and put a dual plane intake manifold on it and a 650 and like a distributor, it's a 290 or 300 horsepower motor roughly. $23 miles per gallon with a 305 and a 78 Nova. That's pretty good. Dan, that Ford 300 is another one that I want to do testing on. 2 more minutes. Sebastian, you watched the live stream at double speed. It was like moving around and gesticulating. 305 is a good motor. It's a small block Chevy V8, so. Are thinking of offering kits that are in stages. Probably not stages, but just kits that are required to make a certain amount of power is kind of the way that we're looking at it. Yeah, fuel mileage is a lot easier to obtain at a slower vehicle speed. I remember going through all the tuning stuff back when I had the Honda, the S100 stuff. We had to do chips. Man, that was a lot. But that's all we had. That's all we knew. Burned a lot of chips. A lot of chips and no salsa. And on that note, it is time to go. Thank you guys all for showing up. I'll be back tomorrow morning, though. And I'm working on other videos. So I'll have like real videos up and not just me. Sebastian, I don't know the answer to your question, but I'm going to go look now because you've asked. I want to see what the low speed power is of a Terminator versus a stock 2V. I'll see if I have that. Later, Gator.